Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of the Dungeon Lore series. In this series, I hope to expand upon things you might not know about Final Fantasy XIV dungeons, as well as discuss their individual stories and lore. This episode's dungeon is the Lost City of Amdapor. As we know from our foray into Amdapor Keep, the Amdapori were famed for their extensive knowledge and development of white magic. Although they used this magic to great effect against the force of the Maki Black Mages, the extremely powerful void scent summoned by the latter wreaked havoc across the territories of Amdapor. We know again from Amdapor Keep that the people sealed these void scent within their own structures in an effort to prevent the devastation of their land. But even the Amdapor's own city was not safe from these practices. Many void scent were sealed within the deepest reaches of the place, and even after the following calamity caused by the War of the Magi, the lost city of Amdapor remained sealed and hidden from view, similarly to the keep. That is, until the advent of the 7th Umbral Calamity. With the land razed, much of the magic surrounding these ancient places began to weaken, along with the seals holding the demonic beings within. In the case of Amdapor Keep, the cult known as the Lambs of Dalamud dealt the final blow to the seal, causing the void sent within to become aggravated. With the Lost City, however, the Warrior of Light is requested to investigate the area by none other than Sumi Yan, Seed Seer of Gridania. He tells us of his sibling, Rune the Senna, who has greater clarity in communicating with the elementals than any other. Rune has recently sensed a disturbance in the balance of the elementals, and the Seed Seers have since traced this imbalance to the Black Shroud, more specifically the Lost City of Amdapor. They mention its sealing long ago, and how since the recent calamity, the seal broke and the land surrounding the city began to wither. Isumi then requests our assistance, and sends us to speak with Raya O. Senna in South Shroud. He tells us that the only remaining areas of the Amdapori as a whole are in fact the Keep and the Lost City. However, no one now knows how the city met its end during the war, but there is now an ominous, unclean presence within. At this point, Rune Senna himself arrives and explains of the dire situation growing each day within the depths of the city, and that a disaster steadily approaches us. He beseeches us for help, and he and Raya send us to speak with Alphine, standing guard outside the gates to the city. They hint at something else sinister lurking within, that of rot and hooked birds consuming the creatures inhabiting the ruins of the city, and sheepishly allow us to pass. Entering the gates to the city, the surrounding air is suffused with spores and pollen, clearly abundant in its density, which as we look around the opening area has created odd plants and mushrooms, along with puffballs and even flying fungi. Heading down the first set of stairs, we encounter some of the beasts inhabiting the city, including several aggressive mushroom-like creatures. Entering the agora, we find an enormous mold colony, spreading the spores around the area. Surrounded by its own mold, as well as several hecties, the huge organism must be defeated in order to clear the mold blocking the gate. We defeat several Diamites and head through the adjacent gate to the Halcyon Court, where a horrifying, apparently infested, decaying Gourmand awaits. During the fight, the Gourmand uses abilities in attempts to spread the mold to the party, occasionally throwing mouldy phlegm at them. However, its deadly voracious maw will suck a party member into the mouth on the creature's stomach. The party must help free them by attacking the Gourmand, otherwise the person within will be crushed and incapacitated. Upon defeat, the rear gate opens and the party can proceed. As we head out onto the raised steps, we can see glowing lights close by, coming from the centre of the open city. We encounter another mold colony, again blocking the next gate until defeated, and as we approach the next set of flying enemies, a nearby plant spews fluid at the group, causing the monsters caught in it to become enraged and more dangerous. Defeating the next set of enemies once again faces us with another area of the pollen-rich liquid, covering the entire walkway down to the bottom of the fungi, where yet more fluid covers the space nearby, this time empowering a mold colony and its spawn. Once the party defeats this final set of growths, they can proceed back onto the stone walkway and up to the Tower of White, where a flying creature known as Ariok awaits. This strange creature is attracted to the scales generated by the Wamora around the arena. During the fight, the party fights the first Wamora, which sheds scales and causes Ariok to attack. The creature continually targets the party member that has the most scales inflicted upon them, and will occasionally use its eerie sound wave to cause damage to the party. It will also use its corrosive gale to fling heavy winds upon a party member, causing great damage, as well as occasionally spawning puddles of poison from underneath itself, dealing damage to party members and enraging any of the Wamora that step inside. When Ariok falls, the party can finally proceed to the innermost part of the city, towards the eerie purple lights we saw earlier. The atmosphere within the place is vastly different to the exterior. There are purple hues everywhere, and looking over the nearby balcony, the drop seems to lead on forever. More noticeably, however, are the huge change in types of enemies seen here. Whereas the outside seemed to be mostly beasts that inhabited the city since its sealing, the enemies within the place are almost entirely void sent. We encounter Baalziphon, absorbing power from the nearby white mage stones in order to regenerate himself. The stones can be destroyed to prevent this healing, and the party can proceed onward down the newly formed magical walkway. At the bottom of the stairs, we find another Baalziphon, along with a handful of Ahriman guarding him, and 4 white mage stones being absorbed. After the Void Center are defeated and the stones destroyed, another magical walkway appears, along with a large circular arena formed of the same magic, and the party enters the depths of the building known as the Waking Nightmare. A large void orb manifests in the center of the arena, and from it appears Diabolos, one of the most infamous leaders of the Voidsent during the War of the Magi, the very demon said to have been sealed within the lost city of Amdapor since its abandoning 1500 or more years ago. During this fight, Diabolos uses his mastery over void gates to try and destroy the party with his magics. Summoning his diabolic gates, Diabolos gives them several different symbols, and the party must be able to remember these symbols in order to prevent Diabolos devastating them all with his ruinous omen. We must open a gate to which we remember its pair, and once Diabolos channels the spell, must then open the matching gate to stop the Voidsent in its tracks. Intermittently, Diabolos will use a Gravi Ball on a party member, a large ball of void magic that occasionally explodes wherever placed, causing damage and slowing the party member if caught in the blast. Finally, the Voidsent will use his ultimate terror, forcing party members to close in or be caught in the surrounding explosion. Upon defeat, the Voidsent falls, claiming his long slumber has weakened his power, and vanishes on the arena floor. And that brings us to an end of the story and lore of the lost city of Amdapor. An unsealing of a great civilization known for its healing magics, now with the majority of the demons trapped within vanquished, no longer polluting the surrounding world. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy XIV lore, and I'll see you next time for the hard mode version of Halatali.